All right. We are going to talk about some things here. I'm just going to kind of go over my my thoughts and feelings and what I'd like to see happen with Dungeonborne going forward. I got a bunch of stuff. Some of it's a little nitpicky. Some of this stuff is going to be more personal preference. I don't think any of this is going to be controversial or anything like that. Just some things I'd like to see. Maybe you guys might like the same. But I'd also be curious to see what everybody else feels and what you guys would like to see going forward. So feel free to toss that down in the comments. But these are just things I've come up with as I've been playing since, well, I played back in some of the earlier accesses as well, but this is mostly stuff I've come up with recently during the early access here. So first of all, though, before we go into any of that, we need to talk about this discourse between Dark and Darker and Dungeonborne, okay? Some people out there seem to make it their entire personality on both sides. Both sides are guilty. Make it your entire personality to defend one game or the other, and just like you've planted your foot on that hill and you are going to war for whatever reason to say that Dark and Darker is better than Dungeonborne. Dungeonborne is better than Dark and Darker. Whatever. It happens on both sides and it's kind of childish and it doesn't make sense. I don't know why some people think that is their entire personality, that their game has to be better. And if it's not and people don't know it, they cease to have any meaning in life. But it's so ridiculous watching that shit in streamers' chats and stuff. Here's the thing. Number one, competition between games, whether you think Dark and Darker copied Dungeonborne or Dungeonborne copied Dark and Darker, whatever the fuck you think, it doesn't matter for a consumer, right? That competition is good for us. It's going to force Dark and Darker to be the better game. It's going to make them bust their ass to be the better game. Same with Dungeonborne. They have to try and be better themselves than Dark and Darker. That's good for us. That is very good for us as consumers. Look at Escape from Tarkov. Escape from Tarkov has had no competition for years, and they got complacent. Soon as Arena Breakout Infinite hit, suddenly people are seeing a game that is doing things better than them, and now suddenly Nikita and gang are being very vocal about what they're doing, what they're working on. They're actually making improvements. It lit a fire under their ass. That is huge. So regardless of whether you think Dark and Darker copied Dungeonborne or vice versa, who cares? Play what you want. Enjoy the game you like. If you like Dark and Darker, play Dark and Darker. If you like Dungeonborne, play Dungeonborne. If you like both, play them both. I like both. I personally prefer Dark and Darker's quest system and stuff. And maybe a bit of the atmosphere a bit more, but then on the Dungeonborne side, personally, I like the combat more. I think the character models and stuff are a little better looking to me. There are certain things from Dark and Darker's combat, like the shield. I like that the shield is a little more skillful, and that if you're skillful, you can kind of get around a shield and hit them, stuff like that. Anyway, that's irrelevant. But man, some of you people in Twitch chat who just constantly go into streamers chat, why are you playing this shit Dark and Darker clone? Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Nobody cares about your opinion. Play what you want, play what you enjoy, and shut the fuck up, please. Anyway, it's so ridiculous to see all the time. Please don't be those people. Just play the game you want to play. I saw somebody today pop in somebody's chat and be like, oh, why are people watching this shit game when they're playing Dungeonborne? It's like, why are you in here watching a game, trying to talk shit on a game you don't like? Just go away. Just go away. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, I don't want to make that a huge rant, but I feel like that's something that needs to be out there as like a PSA. Don't be those people. It's pathetic. It's childish. Just stop. I don't know if you need attention or what, but just stop. Please, for all our sakes, just stop. Anyway, moving on to my actual, don't worry, I'm gonna put timestamps. You don't want to listen to the whole rant, you can skip it. But anyway, we'll move into some of the things that I think would be great in this game. Again, some of these are going to be a little more nitpicky, but I think some of these would actually be pretty good. So these aren't in a specific order, but the top two kind of are, just in terms of overall like gameplay loop kind of thing. So one thing that I think would be really good is a prestige system. So right now, currently, the max level is 20, right? On every class, it goes up to 999. But what I would like to see is once you get to that max level, you have the option to reset to level 1. So all those stats you would have gained leveling up to 20, you lose all that. You go back to base stats for that class and you do it all again. Pretty simple. It's prestige systems. If anybody's played games before with prestige systems, it's pretty basic stuff. But I think it would add a lot more of a goal to the game, like just something to do to give you a reason to play besides just go in, loot, fight, get out. It just gives some kind of goal, and then every time, or not every time, but at certain levels of that prestige system, earn maybe like a cool, like for a fighter, for example, you earn some kind of fighter themed cosmetic at like your 5th or your 10th prestige, something like that. Gives people a reason to reset their character, start over, and try and build back up. I think that would add something, especially in an early access kind of state of game. It's something to chase, right? For me personally, I like having something to chase. Now that kind of leads into the next thing, is quests. I'm not talking about like the basic generic ones we have right now, like go in, kill 5 monsters, blah, blah, blah. We kind of get into that, but a little more specific. But something a little more interesting, something a little more engaging, you know? Again, we go back to Escape from Tarkov. That's a game I have lots of hours in, thousands of hours in Tarkov. The reason I keep going back to Tarkov, I like PvP, I like that kind of thing, and that's nice, but the quests give me like a goal, a direction, something to aim for. Every time I load into a raid, okay, I gotta go get the pocket watch from the truck, or I gotta collect Salua's. Horrible quest. Something like that, some kind of goal. That's what keeps me going in every time. When I go into a raid, I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do for my quest. I got to do this, this, this. If PvP happens on the way, great. If looting happens on the way, great. But it gives me a goal. It gives me, okay, I know I need to go to dorms and do this quest. That's my goal for that raid. All the other stuff is just like added flavor to that specific raid, right? Something like that would be nice. Even like turn-in quests, fetch quests, culling quests, like kill X amount of goblins. At least that way, it's not just killing monsters, but it gives me a direction. Okay, I know goblins spawn in this part of the map. I got to go over there. That kind of thing. Give me some kind of direction, and I think that would help a lot with the gameplay loop and just something to feel like I have a goal and a direction. That said, I would like to eventually see more unique and maybe story or lore driven quests, kind of like longer quest lines, maybe that maybe leads to something cool, like a unique skin or something like that. So again, something to chase, something to have a goal to aim for me personally would help a lot with the gameplay loop. Like, I like the game, I like the PvP, all of that stuff, but I like to have something to, I want to have a goal in mind when I first go in, aside from just like, okay, I know people spawn here and here, I'm going to push that way and see if I can get PvP. I want something a little bit more in depth like than that. So on top of that, my first video for this game was a video on the legendary heirlooms, on how to unlock that. Now, some of the details are still a little bit foggy. Like, I don't really know when the full moon happens. I don't know if it's a set time each day. It seems to happen multiple times each day. But when I did that video, I didn't know the whole moon thing. I just got lucky, and when I decided to record that video, it happened to be a full moon and I was able to do it. But more, it is cool. I love that. I love that, those cool little like secrety type things. And I'd love to see more of that, especially if it unlocks like cool cosmetics and stuff. Like I have some ideas in mind that I won't go into like crazy, but in one part of the castle map, there's like it looks like a manhole cover. It just completely out of the way in the back of like a ruined church or something like that. And it just looks so deliberately placed, this random like manhole looking thing. I would love them to do something cool like that. Like maybe that leads to a secret dungeon or something. You got to do a certain amount of things and the manhole cover opens and you go into a secret dungeon, stuff like that. Secrets and cool stuff like that for the community to find out would be amazing. Again, probably not something that's super necessary right now, but something I hope to see more of. Now, again, we're getting into this list where this isn't really in any specific order. It was just, it's in an order that it came to my head while I was playing and I threw it on this document. So golden chests, the ones that are behind the bosses, the mini bosses, the stuff behind the Cyclops, behind the werewolves, stuff like that. Some of the loot you get out of those after killing the boss, it's just terrible. I would personally like to see those chests guarantee giving better loot, but be locked behind actually killing the boss. So right now, if you're a stealth class, whether it's a rogue or an elf that can kind of sit and go stealth, you can run up to the chest and either go stealth or dodge the boss's attacks and then crouch, do your elf thing, go stealth, and then you can loot it for free, basically. I would like to see those be locked behind killing the boss, so you can't just cheese those chests, right? Now, there is one chest that is similar to that. I'm not going to go like crazy into detail on how, which chest it is, but some of you might know, and I hope it's something they fix. But there is a chest where you have to kill a mini boss, and a throne slides back, and there's a chest underneath. You can loot that chest without killing the boss. Hopefully they fix that and make that not the case. But that kind of idea where a chest is locked behind actually killing the boss, I would like to see that guarantee better loot as well. But yeah, stuff like that is really cool. Just it gives you a reward for pushing those bosses and fighting those bosses, right? A stash filter. Now, I don't like to say, I don't think I'm a hoarder necessarily. I am running out of space and I need more stash tabs. I might need to buy some, but I would like to see a filter here. So I don't have OCD in real life, but in video games, I got some crazy OCD. So I have everything listed like this. Top row is all strength, dex, and it's in order of like, like 1 is strength, 2 is dex. It's all in that order. And then I got my rings the same. I like my stuff organized. The thing is when I need to grab one of these, it'd be nice to filter, like have like a search bar here and be able to type. Let me type in life leech, right? And all of the items that don't have life leech would go gray or fade or whatever, and the ones that have life leech on it would like highlight. That would be fantastic. A nice little quality of life thing. Pretty simple. I would love to see something like that just to make it easier to go through this. If you're looking for a dagger with, I don't know, physical penetration on it, you could type physical penetration and it would highlight that dagger and any other weapon or whatever on that tab that has that. Something like that I think would be really cool. Now this one is more of a personal thing. It's not like a huge deal. I got the screenshot here. But the elixirs, the green elixir and the light blue elixir, when I have them in my hand or in my inventory, I can tell the difference. It's fairly easy. But when they're that tiny little icon down in the bottom, it can be hard to tell which I have. And it just, again, this is super nitpicky, but when I'm looting a monster or something, and if I have the light blue protection one already drank, and I find a light blue one on a mob, I'd like to quickly know whether I have it or not without trying to squint and see what color it is. So I don't have to like pick it up, drink it to find out, you know? Again, super nitpicky, but something I would like to see, which also kind of leads into the next point, which would kind of help resolve it a bit. But when we're in this screen, when we're in our stash, whatever, and we have buffs down at the bottom there, I can't really mouse over it because this is just a screenshot, but above my first weapon there, you know, we have the two elixir icons. It'd be nice if you moused over that or any other buff that's down there and you could see what it was, right? So if you mouse over the elixir of ferocity there, it would show, okay, elixir of ferocity. I think it's like 10% crit chance and 10% crit damage, something like that. Being able to mouse over those buffs would be fantastic, and I think it would solve that potion issue, the elixir color issue. Or you could just change the color of that one elixir, make it like, I don't know, something different that's not so similar to the other one, you know. But again, a little nitpicky, and all it is it's just saving me a little bit of time when I'm looting and stuff, but would be nice. What else we got here? Oh, some of the terrain is so, I wrote this when I was angry after I had died because I got stuck on a bunch of stuff. But I said there's way too much dumb shit to get stuck on. The amount of hopping just to get up a simple slope is ridiculous. So again, I wrote that when I was mad, so it probably sounds a little angrier than I meant it to, but there's a lot of stuff to get stuck on in this game. And when you're trying to outmaneuver somebody and you're just getting hung up on little lips and stuff, it's super annoying. An example of that, actually, if you've been up to the Cyclops on the castle map on the top there, if you're facing the Cyclops, you come up the stairs on the right, right? On the left, there's like a wooden like ramp type thing. And the very top one, there's like a wooden platform and then a wooden ramp. At the very top of that wooden ramp, there's like a little lip. So if you're just trying to normally walk, you get caught on that lip. Stuff like that annoys me to no end. It's crazy. But there's a lot of that stuff around the maps, and I hope they kind of touch that up. Getting stuck on stuff is the worst. It's absolutely the worst. But again, kind of just a personal thing. I don't know, maybe you guys have had those issues too, but I hate it. I hope they go around and touch those things up and clean up those little spots there. I'm fine with like skillful jumps where you have to, like, if you're trying to jump from a pillar down to I don't know, like a ledge or something, and you got to do it a little more skillfully, sure. But when you have to hop just to get up like an ankle high little thing, super annoying, super annoying. Another here is more unique weapons for classes. So I'm using casters as an example right here. I don't play a lot of casters, not really my style, but it feels mostly the same playing those classes. Like I created a priest, I created a druid, and I just messed around a little bit. Again, not really my style, the caster stuff, but it felt the same. It was like weapon and ice orb, and then a staff, and that was basically it. It just felt a lot like the same kind of gameplay between them. Obviously they have their abilities that are going to change it up, like the druid is going to have its panther form and the tree and stuff like that, but some actual like more unique weapons would be cool to see. Just even like Pyromancer and Cryomancer, for example, at a quick glance, they look exactly the same, aside from one being a skeleton and one being human. But at a quick glance, it's hard to distinguish which is which, unless you see whether they're a skeleton or a human, because typically they're both using like a fire staff and then like an ice weapon or something with an orb in the other hand. So it'd be cool to see some more unique stuff. Now, I know a lot of things in this game are placeholders, which I meant to talk about this in my PSA back at the start. Somebody made a comment on one of my videos. Oh, they copied the Cyclops from Dark and Darker, and they didn't even try and hide it. Well, for one, from my understanding, Dungeonborne actually had that first, and it's also an Unreal Asset Store item that anybody can buy and use. So it's not like Dark and Darker created it and Dungeonborne ripped them off, or vice versa. It's an Unreal asset. And you're going to see a lot of that within these games. And I think a lot of people are a little ignorant to that, and they just want to defend their game, and they don't actually know the facts. But anyway, point is that I'm sure some of these weapons and stuff are just placeholders for now, and they will kind of branch out on that. But yeah, since I started playing casters a little bit recently, just that was something I noticed. Playing Dark Knight versus Fighter versus Rogue all felt a little different, but it was also because I was using different weapons. I'd use Club and Shield on DK, and I'd use either long sword or double swords on Fighter, and then I'd use daggers on Rogue. But yeah, it would be nice to see some more unique stuff between the classes, just so they feel a little bit different during like basic gameplay, not their abilities, but just like basic gameplay. And surprisingly, we're on our last one here. Again, this list is just all stuff I was thinking of while playing. I didn't want to make this too long, so I'll probably do another one of these at some point, and just kind of give some ideas that I come up with while I'm playing. But yeah, I thought this was going to be a little bit longer, but for me, I would love to see daggers get the longsword treatment. So for any of you who played the previous tests before they did the longsword change, the longsword felt not very long. It felt kind of short. There was a lot of times, it could be a perspective thing since you're first person, but there was a lot of times it felt like you should be hitting with the longsword, and it just didn't feel like it had any reach. I would like to see the daggers get a bit of that treatment. I don't know. Actually, that reminds me of the animations too. I got to put that in my brain to talk about in a sec. The daggers just feel like they don't have the reach. Like, I know they're supposed to be short range, right? Because they're daggers, but sometimes it feels like you gotta W key right into the face of a little goblin and crouch down so you can poke them, kind of thing. It feels like sometimes the hit reg and the range on the daggers just feels so awful, which leads me into their animations. The backstab, it feels so stiff, and like you lock into that animation, and sometimes on some mobs you can just spam it over and over again, and it stun locks the mob too, basically. And it just feels really like stiff and jagged, and just like it doesn't feel good on a class that's supposed to be like quick and nimble and stuff like that. It just feels so stiff. Like, I hate doing the backstab attack just because you're like locked into that weird animation and you gotta wait for it to finish to be able to do any other attacks. I hope they smooth out some of those animations, especially for those daggers, to make them feel a little bit better. The normal attacks with the dagger, when they're connecting, feel a lot better. The nice smooth combo. But yeah, even sometimes when you're fighting something in a doorway, you won't hit the door. Like, visually you're not hitting the door, but somehow your weapon thinks you've hit the door, and it clanks, and then it restarts the combo, and it just feels kind of weird. So hopefully they do some passes on. I don't know if other weapons are like that too. I mostly play melee characters, so that's just kind of where my feeling is there, where my point of view is coming from there. But I hope they do some work with those things just to smooth out the animations a little bit more, and make the combat just feel a little bit nicer. But personally, like I said before, I prefer Dungeonborne's combat a little bit more than Dark and Darker. So yeah, I would like to see them clean that up a bit, and I'd probably like it even more. But yeah, I think that's kind of it in terms of just random suggestions and thoughts I've had while playing so far. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think, what you guys maybe have different that you would like to see. We're all trying to build this game together, right, and try and get this game to a spot where we want to see it. Obviously the devs have the final say on all that, but I feel like getting input back from the players in the community is always going to be beneficial, whether they go through with certain ideas or not. I think it's helpful for them to see where the community's at in terms of what they'd like to see and what they feel about the game. So yeah, let me know down below. And yeah, let me know if there's any other types of videos you'd like to see me do. I was thinking about doing one on how to fight certain mobs and stuff, but I gotta brainstorm more and see see what I'm feeling and go from there. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys have some ideas as well. I'd love to hear them. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next